Hey guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you my first impressions plus on-feet video of the brand new synthetic Asics DS Lite X-Fly 2. Now inside the box they do include an extra set of laces to go along with the ones already inside the shoes, so you're going to be left with an orange set as well as a flash yellow set. And inside the box, other than that, all you're going to find are the shoes themselves. So we'll get these guys out of the box really quickly, and we'll take a closer look at the brand new X-Fly 2 in synthetic from Asics, a brand that is popular in Australia from what I hear, but not so popular in North America as far as soccer cleats go. Obviously their running shoes are very well known, but they actually have been in soccer for quite a while now. Like I said, they're just not the most popular brand in North America. So with that being said, in today's video, we're going to be taking a closer look at this very, very interesting shoe. This is obviously their second generation of the X-Fly model. I did have some experience with the original X-Fly K, which was a kangaroo leather upper variation, but I didn't get to wear the original synthetic X-Fly. So this is my first experience with the shoe, and I'm going to be sharing my first impressions and basically everything you should know about this model in today's video. So if you're interested in learning more, please stick around, and if you're perhaps interested in a pair of these for yourself, the retail price is $175 US, and you can find buy it now links on the review page of my site, which will be the very first link down below in the description. So go ahead and check that out if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself. And with that being said, let's get right into the video. To start things off, let's talk about weight. Now for those that are less familiar with Asics, they actually do have multiple lines of shoes, with the X-Fly line being their ultra lightweight offering. So I thought it'd be fun to compare the weight of the synthetic X-Fly 2 to that of the synthetic 2015 F50 Adizero from Adidas side by side using this scale in real time. Now keep in mind these are both in brand new condition and both the exact same size 9 US. We'll start off with the F50, throw it on the scale, and you can see that they weigh in at 7.15 ounces, which is the equivalent of 203 grams. So we'll change that back to ounces, take that off the scale, and we'll throw on the X-Fly 2, and you can see that these guys weigh in at 7.9 ounces, which is the equivalent of 223 grams. You're talking about almost a full ounce or 20 grams of extra weight when comparing these two shoes, with the X-Fly 2 obviously being a little bit heavier. Is this super noticeable? Not really, but I think it is worth noting that there are lighter options out there if you're on the market for something that is going to feature a pretty thin synthetic construction. So overall, there's nothing mind-blowingly lightweight about the X-Fly 2, but I think it does still have a lot to offer as far as other performance features are concerned, just as long as you aren't hoping for something that, like I said, is going to feel completely weightless on your feet. It's light enough, and that's kind of what you would expect from this type of a shoe from Asics. So that's pretty much it as far as the weigh-in portion goes, and I'll move on next to the tech specs so we can learn a little bit more about the overall performance. As far as performance is concerned, I'm pretty optimistic with what the X-Fly 2 actually does have on offer. Well, you often see with a lot of smaller brands, and Asics isn't necessarily a small brand, but in comparison to Nike, Adidas, and Puma, they definitely are. A lot of the thin synthetics that they put out, especially in a first or second generation model, tend to not be the greatest. But in the case of the X-Fly 2, again, I don't have any experience with the original. The synthetic that they used here actually seems to be pretty nice. It's what they call a micro-synthetic, and the quality, like I said, is really good. Obviously it's on the thinner side. You can see by the side profile it has a very non-intrusive liner, so it maintains a nice thin profile on your foot. Doesn't really have much padding to it, which is kind of what you would expect. It's going to provide more of a barefoot feel, and to the touch, it's a little bit plasticky in terms of the finish they used on the surface, but it's soft enough, it's flexible enough, and it just feels pretty good overall. No major complaints regarding the quality of the synthetic. I was worried about it being plasticky just based on how it looks, and it does look plasticky, but it's pretty plush and pretty soft to the touch, and I'm sure will only get softer after some break-in time. So pretty excited to try these out. On the surface of the upper, you're going to find kind of a micro texturing. Hopefully you guys can see these lines. It's not as significant as it may appear to be, but it's just a little bit of texturing that will provide some additional grip on the ball as opposed to just leaving the upper completely slick. The tongue is central, as you guys can see, with also being made from a thin synthetic material, which is, again, kind of to be expected. You do have a little bit of extra padding here in this little rectangle at the bottom half of the tongue, which is nice. That should help to cut down on any kind of lace bite. And as far as support for the upper is concerned, the actual Asics branding and the DS Lite branding, as you guys can see, is an extra layer of material fused on top. That does seem to do a really good job of reinforcing the upper. It seems pretty solid in the midfoot area of the shoe, so rollover and any kind of issues with instability don't seem like they're going to be a problem with this particular shoe, and it does appear to be pretty much a solid one-piece upper, no visible seams other than what you're going to find here at the back of the heel, which is no big deal. It's completely out of the way, and again, on par with other high-end thin synthetic lightweight shoes on the market at the moment. Towards the back portion of the shoe, the heel, you can see it does have a somewhat unusual cut on both sides as well as at the very back. It's almost more of a straight cut as opposed to being very rounded, which is something that I really like. It's going to have a slightly more solid locked in feel around the ankle because it is cut a little bit higher. So as far as support is concerned, this shoe is going to feel a lot more solid in this area of the foot in comparison to something like an F50 Adizero or even a Vapor 10 from Nike, just because it isn't cut nearly as low. They did incorporate the extra lace hole as well. That should help to keep your heel locked in place if you choose to use that extra lace hole. Obviously, it is completely optional, and I'll show you what it looks like later during the on-feet portion of the video. The heel liner is kind of like a really unique, almost Clarino feeling type of liner. It's a smooth synthetic, but it has this slightly kind of fine rubbery texture to it, and there's tons and tons of padding, so comfort and having your heel locked in place is not going to be an issue with this shoe whatsoever, which is really nice to see. The insole is fully removable. It features a mesh liner on top, perforations on the underside. Obviously they don't go through the entire liner, but still will allow that little bit of air to pass through, and it's just made from a single layer of this relatively thin red foam material. It's pretty soft, it's pretty spongy, and again, step-in comfort, not an issue with this shoe whatsoever. Moving on to the Soleplate and heel counter combo, this is what they call their X-Fly frame. Pretty interesting. It's made from a pretty cleverly named material, Soleplate polymer, and it definitely does feel different than your average plastic or TPU plastic type of Soleplate material. It's thick, but it feels lightweight, it's flexible, and it just feels solid overall. This has not changed coming from the original X-Fly model, so this is a carryover thing. And obviously it does share its appearances to the older variations of the Sprint frames from the Adidas F50 line. Again, you could argue that all the brands are copying each other. This even looks like the Magista Obra shape to a certain extent as far as the heel counter is concerned, but there's only so many different ways of making a heel counter. It's a solid plastic material, and you have the perforations there kind of showing the underside color, more of an accent as opposed to something that is an actual performance feature, but you get the external heel counter, the support that it provides from keeping your heel from sliding to side, as well as the extra protection. I'm a big fan of this type of a heel counter, so really like how it looks on this particular shoe. And then as far as the bottom is concerned, you have obviously your stiffener bars running through the middle, and then of course your more flexible area in the forefoot. As far as quality is concerned, you can definitely expect solid build quality from any Asics product. It's riveted to the actual upper on both the tip of the toe as well as the medial side of the forefoot, which is something that I always like to see, a very Mizuno-esque type element to this particular shoe. And as far as the stud pattern is concerned, pretty straightforward. I would say it's definitely more on the traditional side as far as how it's laid out. The studs themselves are kind of conical in shape, but they have these little cutouts, as you guys can see. So you're going to have these three little sticking out pieces to a certain extent, but just based on my experience with it on the original X-Fly, it performs well and feels, like I said, a lot more traditional as opposed to how it may look with its unique shape at the tip. So they dig into the ground nicely. Of course, this is a firm ground stud pattern variation. Studs are definitely longer in the heel than what you're going to find in the forefoot, where they are on the shorter side as far as firm ground studs go, which is definitely worth mentioning. And I know I'm going to get a lot of questions regarding the heel lift, which is a common feature on a lot of Asics shoes. You do not find that 10mm heel lift on the X-Fly line whatsoever. It is a completely flat soccer shoe. The only offset you're going to find is in the difference in stud length in the heel versus the forefoot, which is pretty common on pretty much any firm ground shoe. So again, nothing significantly different about the on-foot feel of the X-Fly versus other brands or other more well-known brands, I guess is the best way to put it. So that's pretty much it as far as tech specs go. Let me know what you guys think of this shoe down below in the comment section. And next we're going to move on to the visuals of the shoe so we can get a closer look at the colorway and just talk about how the shoe looks in general. As far as the appearance of the shoe is concerned, the X-Fly 2 looks a lot like the original X-Fly. This is the launch color, which is obviously a shade of orange that Asics has cleverly named Orange Red. That's actually the name of the color. In person though, it definitely is more orange than it is red. The majority of the upper is kind of a lighter orange, and then the laces as well as the accents, including the sole plate and heel counter, is a slightly darker shade of orange. I guess more of a reddish tinge, if you will, but definitely more orange than it is red. And then you have the white accent color as well as flash yellow, which essentially is just a Volt yellow from Nike or something like that. Just a very bright yellow shade that actually accents quite well with the orange red upper. So as far as laces go, I did show you that they did come with extra laces at the start of the video. You get some flash yellow ones as well as some orange red laces. I guess take your pick on which ones you like better. I personally prefer the look of the yellow ones versus the orange ones, but that's just me. You have your Asics branding running through the middle of the shoe in white on both the lateral and medial side. Your DS Lite X-Fly branding on the lateral side, Asics on the tongue, Asics logo on the back of the heel, and then of course the studs are a combination of white as well as more of that flash yellow color. So all in all, pretty decent looking shoe. I can't say that I'm crazy about the finish on the synthetic upper. I think it does look a little bit cheap, but feels pretty okay, I guess is the best way to put it. All in all, pretty good looking shoe in my opinion. Not a huge fan of the colorway in general, but it looks good. I think it's a pretty typical design from Asics. They didn't do anything groundbreaking here, but nonetheless, pretty good looking shoe from an aesthetic standpoint, in my opinion. Leave your opinions down below in the comment section. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Why or why not? And with that being said, let's move on to the on-feet portion of the video so we can get a better idea as to how these shoes fit and of course what the sizing is like. Alright, so here is a look at the X-Fly 2s on feet. On my left foot I have the stock flash yellow laces that come with the shoe, and on my right foot I have a pair of reflective neon yellow SR4U replacement laces. If you're interested in a pair of replacement laces for yourself, check out the website sr4ulaces.com. It'll be linked in the description of this video, so go ahead and check it out. Now in terms of how these things fit and feel on feet, I'm actually really happy with the overall comfort level. The micro synthetic material that they've used on the upper here is thin, it's flexible. It isn't what I would kind of classify as soft, but it is what I would classify as being very solid and flexible at the same time, if that makes any sense. It's kind of a unique sensation where the shoes fit really well. They're flexible enough from right out of the box. I don't really have any issues with discomfort or the shoes feeling overly stiff, but they're just really well reinforced in terms of lateral stability. So if you want that very responsive sensation where there's no rollover, the second you react is the second that the shoe reacts, this is one of those shoes that definitely is going to provide that sensation better than a lot of thin synthetic shoes out there on the market at the moment. As far as the width of the shoe is concerned, it's a tighter fit. I found that at first, especially in the forefoot and toe box area, they fit really snug, almost to the point where I was questioning whether or not they were half a size small. But after having them on my feet for about 5 minutes or so, they seem to have expanded ever so slightly and just feel a lot more comfortable now. So just expect a tighter fit with this shoe. Definitely not well suited for wider foot types if that is something that you're interested in. It has a very deep lacing system that allows you to get a nice snug fit across the entire foot. Very consistent tightness, which is really nice. And they give you that extra lace hole as well that you can see I've implemented here on my right foot and not on my left foot. With the extra lace hole, you get that nice locked in feel in the heel. And speaking of the heel ankle area, it does have a slightly higher than average cut for this type of a shoe. So again, it just has a very solid responsive feel on your feet overall, but of course not well suited for wider foot types. As far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and the length is quite snug, but I still would say that these things do run true to size. If you're looking for that snug to tight fit, I would say true to size, or if you want something that is perhaps going to be a little bit more roomy, you can safely go a half size up in the X-Fly 2. But like I said, for most people, going true to size should be suitable. Alright guys, that's it for my first impressions of the synthetic DS Lite X-Fly 2 from Asics. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with the shoe. It isn't the lightest thing around. I was expecting them to be a little bit lighter, but Everything else about this shoe is actually pretty impressive. They fit really well. The quality of the synthetic is better than I was expecting it to be. They're very, very comfortable. I actually quite like the cut in the ankle and heel portion of this shoe. And I have used this Soleplate stud pattern combo before and was actually really impressed with it then. So I expect to have the same outcome on the X-Fly 2 as well. So can't wait to try these out. They definitely do seem like a pretty solid option. They retail for $175 US, and you can actually get them for a little bit less on the review page of my website, which is linked down below in the description of this video, actually the very first link. And on that page, you will find buy it now links for these guys, along with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll actually be able to pick these up below their normal $175 retail. So go ahead and check that out if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself. In the meantime, I'm going to be testing them out. I will follow up with my full written review hopefully within the next month or so. I have a lot on my plate at the moment as far as pending reviews are concerned, so stay tuned for that full written review if it is something that you're interested in. If you have any questions regarding the X-Fly 2, I'd be happy to answer them down below in the comment section, questions in general, and even your suggestions. I take a look at everything. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.